Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, I'm one of the physios at Body Mechanics, and I'm also a qualified matwork and equipment Pilates instructor. So we thought that while you were all on lockdown and unable to attend your normal classes and physio, that we'd give you something to work on if you'd like to. So today I'm going to be doing a beginner's Pilates class with you, or for you. This class is designed for those who've never done Pilates before, but also who have done a little bit of Pilates before. I'll try and give you modifications and progressions as we go so that you can make it either slightly easier if you wish or slightly more difficult if you wish. What I've decided to do is to split the class into two, section 1 and a section 2, so that it's about 25 to 30 minutes, which means it's a bit easier for you to just add into your day if you want to do it during your lunch break or after dinner in the evening. If you'd like to do both sections together, that's absolutely fine, but the classes are designed to be two separate classes. So what we'll do, for those of you who haven't done any Pilates before, is we'll just go through a couple of key principles and then two very important exercises that I'd like you to do before you start the class. For those of you who have done Pilates before, you can skip to the beginning of the class if you'd like to skip out a few minutes. So the main principles of Pilates, there's a lot to Pilates, but the main principles are firstly centering. We talk about centering as activating the lower abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor muscles, and these muscles really are the powerhouse of your body. We want to move from these muscles, so it's really important to get them activated through each exercise as much as you can, really. Then the second principle that's really important is concentration. We really need you to be focusing on your movement because if you don't, you're not going to get as much control and as much fluidity as we'd like. And it's really important also to be mindful of the exercises as you go. So try and really focus in on what you're doing. Right, the third one is control. We always go for quality of movement, and I would always say to people, quality over quantity. So as we go through our class, if you're feeling like it's going too quickly, I can't get all these exercises in time, I'd much rather you do 2 or 3 well than 5 to 10 not so well. The fourth principle is flow. We want fluidity of movement. We want to make beautiful, graceful movements. We want to try and move smoothly and not very stop-start staccato, because that means that we're losing control. And the fifth principle, that's probably the most important, last but not least, is breathing. Breathing is really, really important to calm our systems down, to focus our brains in on the movement, but also to help us move well. And you'll hear me cueing you with breathing as we go through the class. Please don't get too caught up on when you need to breathe out and when you need to breathe in. It's quite difficult if you are new to Pilates. Rather just breathe as and when. Try not to hold your breath and try just to breathe as much as you can. Nice deep breaths. All right, so those are the basic principles. We're going to do 2 exercises that will make that we would make sure that you can do. If I was running a normal Pilates class and I all had you in the room with me, I'd get you lying down, get you activated, and I'd actually come and feel on everyone's body to make sure that you're doing it right. Now, obviously, we can't do that, so please just make sure that you really understand what that activation feels like. And if you are struggling with it, rather just pause the video and practice it for a couple of minutes. Make sure you're happy with it and then move on. I'd hate for you to go through the class really not sure about your activation, because then it's not enjoyable, and also you're not going to be doing the movements safely. So the first exercise that we're going to do is a pelvic floor and a lower transversus abdominis activation. Our pelvic floor muscles form a hammock, and they run from our pubic bone at the front all the way through to our tailbone at the back, and they form a little hammock. From the pubic bone, they then insert into all of our lower abdominal muscles via fascia. So it really is a very powerful sling that comes up and forward. And like I said earlier, it's the powerhouse of our body. So we need to make sure that you are activating your pelvic floor as well as you can. So if you could come down onto your mat with me, we're going to be lying in crook lying, which is on your back with knees bent up, like so. Make sure that you are in a comfortable position and make sure that you're as relaxed as possible. Now, what you might want to do is place your hands on your lower tummy area, and that will just help to focus your brain in on those muscles down there. What you're going to think about is your back passage first of all. I want you to think about squeezing that back passage just gently. 1, 2, 3, and then release. Now I want you to think about the front passage, and I want you to squeeze that front passage gently. 1, 2, 3, and release. Now it becomes a bit more difficult. I want you to squeeze the back passage, and then you're going to think about zipping from the back to the front. So you're going to activate the back muscles and all the muscles in between to the front passage. So think about the back, think about getting all those muscles activating through to the front. Hold that, 1, 2, 3, and let it go. Let's practice that 2 more times. Back passage, engage those muscles, zip them up to the front, hold 1, 2, 3, and let it go. And let's try one last time. Back passage, zip up to the front, hold 1, 2, 3, and let it go. So there are a lot of other things that we can think about when we're activating our pelvic floor. If you're struggling with that activation, like I say, pause the video as we are now. Practice that a few more times. If you really have trouble accessing your pelvic floor, please don't continue and do this Pilates class because it's not safe for you. I'd much rather you contact one of us at Body Mechanics and we can talk you through it in a bit more detail. All right, so the second exercise that we all need to do before we start our beginner's class is coordinating the pelvic floor activation and the breathing. So at the beginning of every single exercise, I will say, breathe in to prepare. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then I'll say, breathe out to set. And as you breathe out through your mouth, you're going to think about zipping up back to front passage as you breathe out through your mouth. And then you're holding it. And then I'll say, breathe in to prepare again, and then we'll breathe out as we start to move. The theory being that those pelvic floor muscles stay on the whole exercise. Now, if you're new to Pilates, you won't be able to do that, but really try and start the beginning of each exercise as well as you can. Like I said, if you get caught up with the breathing, if it becomes too difficult, that's absolutely fine. Just continue to breathe. Right, so that's our preparation done. Let's get up into standing for our warm-up. Now, because of the way we've got the camera and the space in this room, if I stood up, you're only going to see up to my shoulders. So I'm going to do my warm-up in kneeling, and then I'm going to do the last exercise in standing. I'd like all of you to be standing though as we do our warm-up. So the first thing we're thinking about in standing is our posture. We're thinking about equal weight bearing through our feet. We're thinking about stacking our hips over our knees, over our feet. Then we're thinking about being up nice and tall, stacking our thorax over our pelvis. And then we're thinking about someone pulling up from the crown of our necks up towards the ceiling to get our heads stacked over our shoulders, thorax, and then pelvis. What I also want you to think about is being nice and open so that you can really get some lovely deep breathing going. So that's the first thing to think about. Now, the first section of this class is all in lying down. We will apply the same principles that we are thinking about in standing to our lying position. Okay, second exercise is we are going to do a side bend with some arms. This is called mermaid. So deep breath in to prepare. Breathe out to set your center. Breathe in to prepare and breathe out as you bend over, doing a lovely side bend. And down. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to do a lovely side bend to the other side. And then down. And let's carry on that 5 times. Really, really nice to do this one if you've been sitting at home working at your laptop all day. Not all of us have got a great workspace set up at home. We're on kitchen tables, dining room tables with not such good chairs. We certainly don't have our big monitors that we normally have at work. So we're often cramped over a laptop, keyboard and monitor. So this is a really, really nice one to get going. Okay. Second one is you're going to breathe in and breathe out. And as you breathe out, you're going to twist as much as you can. Right hand comes forward, left goes back, and then breathe in again. As you breathe out, you're going to rotate the other way. Once again, this is a lovely one to do even in the middle of the day when you've been sitting all day. For those of us who aren't working as much, this is a lovely one to do after you've been gardening, bent over the weeds, bent over the hedge. Really, really lovely one to do. One more each side. There we go. Right, so the last two that we're going to do are in standing. So you won't see my head, hopefully you'll still see me. You don't need to see my head for this one. So what I'm going to get you to do is a nice deep breath in to prepare. Breathe out, set your center. Breathe in to prepare and breathe out and do a little mini squat with the arms coming up to shoulder height and then back into standing. Little mini squat with the arms up to shoulder height, back and standing. I'll show you side on. Little mini squat. And again. And again, mini squat. We'll do two more. And last one. Lovely, nearly there. Okay, our moonwalk is going to come next, but it's a moonwalk on the spot. So you're going to lift one heel up and then you're going to swap with the other side. So we're doing a static moonwalk, really just to get the knees and the ankles moving, wake the calves up, wake the Achilles tendon up. Couple more. Right, there we go. Now, we are about to get down onto the mat, and in order to do that, we're going to do a roll down. Once again, I'm going to stand side on so you can see what I'm doing. What a roll down is it's essentially a forward bend, but we're thinking about articulating our spine as we go down and then articulating it back up. So nice deep breath in to prepare and breathe out to set your center. Breathe in to prepare again, and as you breathe out, pop your chin onto your chest and think about one vertebra at a time, rolling forward over the next, all the way down. Take a nice deep breath in and out at the bottom. Breathe in to prepare and breathe out as you roll back up, stacking your spine, one vertebra on top of the other. Right, so we're going to do two more of those. The second one, we're going to stay down there and get down onto the mat on our backs. Let's go. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare, and breathe out to pop your chin on your chest. One vertebra at a time rolls down forward. Have a nice deep breath in and out as we are hanging down there. Lovely stretch this one. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to come back up, articulate that spine, stacking one vertebra on top of the other, and at the top. And we're going to go one more time, chin onto your chest, rolling down, one vertebra at a time, rolling forward over the next. We're going to hold it down here, take a nice deep breath in and out, and then come down onto the mat. So I'd like you to get down onto your back with knees bent up. Now, we're thinking about our positioning and our posture once again. It is slightly different to standing, but essentially the principles are the same. We want alignment and we want stacking. So Thinking about your feet being shoulder width apart or hip width apart, thinking about the knees, once again, shoulder or hip width apart, so that your thighs are parallel. Thinking about equal weight bearing through each buttock or cheek, and then thinking about being nice and relaxed through the upper chest area. Your back is always slightly curved in the lumbar region, so you should have a tiny little hollow there, enough space for a little mini grape or a raisin, and that's perfectly normal. Don't feel that you need to flatten your entire lumbar spine, because that's not a natural position. You're nice and open through your shoulders, arms are down at your side, and chin is just tucked in a little bit so that the back of your neck is nice and long. Once again, if someone's pulling you from the crown of your head, just parallel to the floor. Our first exercise in this position is a pelvic tilt exercise, and this is a lovely exercise for any of you who've got stiff lower backs, or once again, if you've been sitting all day at your laptop. So this one, we don't need to think about setting our center because it actually brings those muscles on automatically. So we're going to breathe in to prepare, and as we breathe out, we're going to flatten our lumbar spine. Think about squashing that little grape, and then breathing in to come back up. Breathing out to squash that little grape, and breathing in to come back up. Breathing out to squash the grape, and breathing in to come back up. So essentially you're getting a tilting back of your pelvis and then returning to your starting position. Tilting back and returning to start. Tilting back and returning to start. We're going to do a few more of those and then we'll move on. And last one, squash your grape and then back to starting position so that you've got a little bit of space for your grape underneath your lumbar spine. Right, our next exercise is called shoulder bridge. It begins with a pelvic tilt and then we carry on rolling our spine up off the bed. I'm sure most of you will have done this in one form or the other. The main thing I want you to think about is articulation of your spine once again. So we're not just lifting our back straight up, we're really getting a nice curve through our spine as we come up and then a nice curve as we go back down. We don't need to set our centers for this one again because the pelvic tilt does it for us. So breathing in to prepare, breathing out to squash your grape, carry on breathing out and articulate that spine as you lift your bottom up off the bed. I want you to stop when you're in a straight line, okay? Breathe in at the top and breathe out as you roll back down, one vertebra at a time, really trying to get that articulation as good as you can. Breathing out to come back up. And breathing in to go back down. Right, we're going to do 8 more of these. For those of you who've done Pilates before, if you're finding that this is too easy, what you can do is you can bring your arms into it. So if you'd like a little progression, what you can do is as you roll up, you can bring both arms up and above your head, and then as you roll down, you can bring them all the way down. For those of you who are very new to Pilates, just carry on doing this with me. You'll start to feel the ache in your glutes. You'll start to feel your hamstrings working, and that's really what we're doing, is we're trying to get the muscles through the back of our legs, bottom, and then into our back working. And it's a really lovely one for that. Try to remember to focus on your alignment. Try to keep your movements as smooth as possible. Remember, we want to glide through these movements. We want to make beautiful, graceful movements. Let's do 2 more. I think that's going to take us to 10. And last one. And calm down. Lovely. Let's hug knees into chest and just have a little stretch out there. Those muscles have worked hard. Okay, so next one, we're going to progress our shoulder bridge a little bit. We are going to do scissor arms with our shoulder bridge. For those who are new to Pilates, if you'd like to just do the normal shoulder bridge, please do so. If you find that the coordination's a bit difficult, once again, just do the normal one without the arms. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our left arm up and our right arm down. As we bridge up, we're going to cross arms, we're going to scissor our arms, and as we come down, we're going to scissor our arms. So it really is quite a coordination challenge as much as everything else. What we're doing is we're destabilizing our upper bodies, which means that we're working harder through our chest, our upper back, and we're making everything work harder lower down, as well as then also decreasing our base of support, which is making our balance much more difficult. So it really is a very good balance challenge, this one. For those of you who've done Pilates before, if you'd like to make it more difficult, you can go a little bit quicker, or you can hold yourself up and you can just do arms up and down and really feel those glutes start to burn. For those of you who are trying to keep up with me, we'll keep nice and slow, up and down, really focusing on the smoothness of movement and the coordination of the arms and the legs working together. Okay, let's do one more, up, and one more, down. And then bring that arm down to the side. Let's hug our knees into our chests, have a little stretch out, and then down into our crook lying position. Right, we're going to give our glutes and our hamstrings and our backs a rest for the moment, and we're going to start to work our lower abdominals and our upper abdominals a little bit more. If you feel your back at all with these exercises, please stop immediately. And what you can do is you can go on to the exercise before that was easier. We will progress the exercises. They will get progressively more difficult. But if you're still feeling your back with the easier exercises, then please just stop and have a stretch and contact us at the Body Mechanics and we can talk through any issues you have. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is come into a single tabletop. Now a tabletop position is exactly like the edge of a table. We talk about 90 degrees at the knee and 90 degrees at the hip. So it's making the corner of a table. A single tabletop is one leg and a double tabletop is two legs. We're going to start off with a single tabletop position. So with this one, we do need to breathe in to prepare and set our centers. Very, very important to have the pelvic floor and the lower tummies on so that we protect our backs. If you're finding that as you get tired, you're struggling to activate things at the front, rather come down, have a rest, have a little stretch, and then try again a little bit later. If you don't, you will find that you start to ache in your back as your back muscles take over from your abdominal muscles. And we don't want that. We shouldn't have any aching backs with Pilates. It should make our backs feel better. Okay, so we're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to prepare, breathe out as we lift the right leg up into a 90-90 position, and breathe in as we take that right leg down. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out as we lift the left leg up into 90-90, breathe in to go down. Breathe out to lift up, and breathe in to come down. Breathe out to lift up and breathe in to come down. And we'll carry on doing that. What I want you to do is I want you to pop your hands on the front of your hips and I want you just to notice what your pelvis is doing. So in an ideal world, we wouldn't want any movement of that pelvis. We certainly don't want it shifting side to side. So just have a feel of what's going on. If you find that your pelvis is shifting a little bit, you probably don't have enough pelvic floor and trans-ab activation. So just try and pull up those muscles a little bit tighter, but not too tight that you can't have a conversation or breathe. We'll do one more on the right and then one more on the left, and then we'll progress. There we go. So for those of you who found that a challenge, stick with this one. Don't do the progression, okay? So single tabletop into one leg stretch. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to repair, breathe out as you come up into single tabletop. You're then going to extend the leg out to 45 degrees, and then you're going to bring it back in, and then you're going to take it down. You're going to breathe out to lift the other one up. You're going to straighten, you're going to breathe in, and you're going to come down. Okay, so up, straighten out, come back in, and down. up, straighten out, back in and down, up, straighten, bend and down, up, straighten, bend and down. We'll do one more each side. Try and focus on that pelvis, keeping it really nice and still. And keep breathing. Okay, let's have a little rest. Hug those knees into your chest. Right, so we're going to progress onto a double tabletop now. For those of you who are pure beginners, please don't progress on if you felt that the single tabletop was challenging enough. Rather just stick to that. That's absolutely fine. You're still working those abdominals quite hard without putting unnecessary strain on your back. If you're happy to try the double tabletop, by all means try it. But if you feel any strain on your back, please stop straight away. For those who've done Pilates before, you'll be used to double tabletop. And if you want to make the exercise more challenging, you can always speed up the movements. That's fine. You can do double time for every one I do. So what we're going to do is arms at the side again. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out to set your center. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out as you lift that first leg up. Breathe in to hold and breathe out as you lift that second leg up. Okay? We don't want to be squashing our grapes. Just a little bit more pressure on the grapes, absolutely fine, but we don't want a flat back. That's going to make you too sore, okay? We're then going to breathe out as we take that left leg back and then take the right leg back. So let's do that again. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift the right leg up, breathe in to hold, breathe out to bring the right leg up. And just keep it up here, get used to being in that position. Drop the one leg and drop the other leg. Let's repeat that. Up, up, hold that there for a little bit. Just try and stay nice and relaxed at the top. Shoulders should be nice and relaxed. Neck should be nice and relaxed. Down and down. And let's do it 3 times on the left now. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift the one up, breathe in to hold, breathe out to lift the other one up. Breathe in and out a couple of times here, then lower the one and lower the other. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to hold, breathe out to lift up. Breathe in and then breathe out as you lift the other up. Breathe in and out a couple of times up here and then lower the one and lower the other. We've got one more of these. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift up the left leg, breathe in to hold, breathe out to lift the right leg up. Take a few deep breaths in this position and then breathe out to lower the right and then breathe out to lower the left. Right, so that's our double tabletop that we've done. So we're going to progress. We're going to have 2 progressions from here. Beginners, if you found that one okay, you are welcome to carry on with us. If you find that one challenging, stick to that. And if you start to fatigue, you can go back to the single tabletop. Please don't strain your backs unnecessarily. For those of you who've done it before, like I said, you can increase the speed to make it more difficult. You could even then come up into a more challenging position with head and neck. Just make sure that you're keeping the length through the whole of your spine. We don't want you crunching forward. Okay, so double tabletop with a scissor legs. So we're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set center, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift up the right leg and then the left leg. And from this position, don't worry about the breathing, just think about the coordination. We're going to tap the right leg down and up. We're going to tap the left leg down and up. Remember, you're not allowed to squash your grapes. So if you want to pop your hands on your tummy to make sure that you're not wobbling or squashing the grape, that's absolutely fine. Otherwise, just keep them down to the side. Now, this is difficult in terms of coordination and breathing. If you are thinking about your breathing, I would always breathe out as you tap down, breathe in as you come up. Breathe out as you tap down, breathe in as you come up. But it really doesn't matter as long as you're breathing. Please don't hold your breath. That is not good for brain or body. Okay, can feel that tummy working really nice and hard now. We'll do one more on each side. And then we take one leg down and then the other leg down. Let's hug in. We've been working quite hard here. Right, so our last double tabletop position is going to be a one leg stretch, and what we are going to do is once again get into our double tabletop. Instead of tapping down, we're going to straighten legs out. This is a progression from the scissors, so if you found that the scissors was the right level for you, please just repeat that. If you found the scissors was too difficult, please go back to just the double tabletop up and down. If you want to challenge yourself more, I'm happy for you to go really fast with the one leg stretch, as long as you're controlled through your pelvis. So breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set center, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to lift up the one leg and then the other leg. And once again, breathing not so important, but if you are thinking about breathing, you're going to breathe out to stretch out and in, and out to stretch out and in. And we'll carry on at this speed. For those of you who've done this before, you can either do it much quicker, like that, or you can literally scissor your legs like a bicycle. Okay, but for the purposes of our beginners class, we'll stay nice and slow and controlled. Once again, be thinking about this pelvic area. Make sure you haven't squashed your grape. Make sure you can breathe. Make sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed. You can pop your hands on your tummy if you'd like to. We'll do two more. And then we breathe out to take one leg down and then the other leg. Well done. Okay, the hard work's finished. Two of my favorite exercises now, I call it a hip twist. You might know it as a bent knee fallout. The first one is with one leg and the second one is with one leg, and then we are done and we can have our cool down. So our hip twist number one is more of a control exercise. I want you to pop your hands on your hips, and I want you to make sure your pelvis isn't rocking side to side. This exercise depends entirely on the control around your lumbo-pelvic area, but also on how much movement you've got through your hips. For those of us who are very bendy and have a large hip range, we'll get a much bigger movement than for those of you who maybe have a little bit of arthritis in the hips or are just a bit stiffer. So pop your hands onto your tummy, breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare and breathe out to take your left leg down as far as you can without allowing your pelvis to roll, and then breathe in to come back. Breathe out to take the right leg out or the other leg out, and breathe in to come back. And carry on going with that. You're breathing out as the knee goes out and in as the knee comes in. And what we're focusing on, like I said, this is a control exercise. So we're really focusing on not letting the pelvis wobble side to side, not letting it roll as we roll that hip out. So the only thing that's moving is the ball in the socket of the hip joint. Nothing else should be moving at all. And this is really quite a challenging one for such a simple, small movement, but it's a really good one for lumbo-pelvic control. We'll do a couple more on each side, because our tummies are getting a bit tired now, I'm sure. And last one on each side. Try and keep that movement smooth and beautiful. We want a beautiful gliding movement. Right, there we go. Let's hide our knees into our chest. Okay. Right, so hip twist 2 is entirely different. It is with both legs and it's a mobility exercise. So we're using it to mobilize our lumbar spine and our hip area rather than working on control in the lumbo-pelvic area. For hip twist 2, I always like to have arms out at the side, palms down. But if you prefer to, you can have them down at your side or out to 45 degrees. It really doesn't matter. For hip twist 2, we want to zip our legs up together. So feet are together, knees are together, and they are staying together. So as we rotate both legs down to one side, that opposite foot is actually coming up off the mat. And what this does is this helps with the mobility. It gives us more range, but also it helps with our control through our pelvic floor muscles and our transversus abdominis, our lower abdominals. Okay, so let's breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to prepare and breathe out as you take both legs over all the way, and breathe in to come back in. Breathe out to go the other way, And breathe in to come back in. If you'd like to add a head roll to the opposite side, you're more than welcome to. If that is too much to think about, just keep your head nice and still. That's absolutely fine. Try and keep arms relaxed on the floor, on the mat. Try and keep shoulders down, and you'll get a much nicer stretch. If you're finding that this is too fast, you can slow it down completely. I prefer to do it slightly faster because I feel like I'm then really getting things moving nicely. But a lot of people would prefer to go slower, hold it at the end, and then come up. Okay, we'll do 2 more each side. And last one each side. Right, and there we go. So that is our main body of work done. We're just going to do a very, very quick cool down. For those of you who are going to go straight on to the second section, skip the cool down and start the second section straight away. For those of you who are only doing this one in isolation, please just bear with me and do a few stretches with me. So the first stretch we're going to do is a glute stretch. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee. We're going to bring the knees up towards us and hold behind our left knee. Try and keep the back as flat as you can. Try and keep shoulders relaxed and neck nice and long. We're just going to hold that for about 20 seconds. Remember to breathe. And just really enjoy that stretch. So in our little class today, we've used our glutes and our hamstrings a lot when we did all of our shoulder bridging exercises. We've used our pelvic floor and our lower abs a lot when we did all of our tabletop work. And when we did our hip twists at the end, we were using abdominals and glutes once again. So really important to give ourselves a little stretch out. Let's cross sides. One side is bound to be stiffer than the other, and that's absolutely fine. That's quite normal. Just try and breathe into your stretch. If you can bring it in a little bit more, that would be great. Both legs down. We're going to do a hamstring stretch now. Many ways to stretch out a hamstring. We're just going to do it in this position because we're in this position. Hug your knee into your chest, hands behind the back of your knee. Flex your foot up and stretch out or straighten that knee as much as you can and then bend it. I like to do my hamstring as a dynamic stretch just because I find it's less painful and easier to do. But if you'd like to, you can hold it up with toes pointing up to the ceiling. That's absolutely fine. As you can see, I've got very tight hamstrings, so this one definitely works better for me. If you're following me, we'll do 2 more of these. If you're just holding, continue to hold for another few seconds. There we go. And let's swap sides. Hug that knee into your chest. Flex your foot up. Straighten as much as you can, up and down, nice dynamic stretch. If you want to hold a static stretch, remember to point toes up. Don't flex that foot. That's a very big sciatic nerve stretch, and we don't want you holding that for too long. We'll do 2 more. Okay, last stretch we're going to do is a windscreen wiper stretch. Very similar to the hip twist 2 we've just done, but it really gets into the groins very nicely. So place your feet right at the edges of your mat, and if you don't have a mat, just open them out nicely. We are going to imagine that our knees are windscreen wipers, and we're going to take them both down to the one side, and we're going to take them both down to the other side. By opening them out, we get a much nicer stretch in and around the groin. We also get a really nice stretch up into the upper back, so all the way through from the lumbar spine into the thoracic spine. If you want to open arms out, you can. But this is a lovely, lovely one to do. We'll just do 1 more each side after this. And there we go. up nice and slowly into sitting. And that is the first section of our Pilates class. I think it was slightly more than half an hour, so you might struggle to fit it in a lunch break, but see how you go.